Wednesdays, we play Monster Hunter, and those streams can go pretty late. pretty late, but we're here. We're here. So, last time on Wednesday, we read some old, super old sci-fi from 1969 out of one of my grandpa's books, one of his old books. He didn't write it, he's just, my grandpa read a lot of books. And, anyway, it was the first short story in a collection of, let me get it. So, on Wednesday we read A Man Speaketh by Richard Wilson. From World's Best Science Fiction 1970, an anthology of the year's best science fiction stories. So, we read the first story in this anthology here, A Man Speaketh. It was interesting. It was, again, all these stories in this book were published in 1969. So parts of it was kind of hard, like a lot of the jokes made in the book by the main character, who is a radio jockey, a disc jockey, a guy that did radio shows in the 60s, I guess. Or whatever time period this is set in, where they still use tapes and vinyl records, but have spaceships and intelligent machines. They made a bunch of jokes that referenced Nixon and all this stuff, and the only one I understood was I am what I am, by a quote by Popeye, of course. And there was a point where he was talking about stuff or stories that he liked, and there was a joke that actually got me pretty good. Yeah. I barely remember who wrote Tom Jones or Jane Eyre, but certain titles and authors from my high school days are engraved on my memory. They wouldn't bear repeating, except that's all that they're doing to me. Repeating as if to pound it home that these are samples of what my education has left me with. Volume 1, The Open Kimono by Seymour Hare. Volume 2, The Yellow Stream by I.P. Standing. That one got me pretty good. But overall, it was okay. The beginning, it felt like I was trying to decode the Old Testament or something. Just the way it was written and things. But we got through it. It was 26 pages long. 26 pages is both sides of the paper, 26 pages. So not that long of a story. And it was okay. It was quite an interesting read. I don't know if I've read anything quite like it. So I have this anthology from the year 1970. And I have another anthology book here. It's an anthology from 2003. This particular edition, these are two different people's anthology series. I don't know if the two guys that put together 1970s were involved at all in this one. I don't think they were. But this is the year's best science fiction, more than 300,000 words of fantastic fiction, edited by Gardner Dozois. 21st annual collection. And I believe this was the 2003 edition, because it won the 2003 Locus Award for Best Anthology. But the copyright inside the book is 2004, so I don't know exactly. I'm guessing it was published in 2003, and this is a 2004 printing. I don't know. So this is 30 years more recent than the 70s anthology, at least. So or yeah, about 30 years, something like that. So I thought it'd be interesting. So last time we read A Man Speaketh by Richard Wilson. Um, and so I thought uh, this time we would read the first uh, story in the 2003 anthology and see how they compare. They both seem to involve spaceships of some sort based on the title of this one and this book. Um, sorry, I had to clear my throat. Um, but yeah, we'll go over the introduction and stuff in this one as well. Um, this book, the 2003 anthology, does not smell as old as the 70s. 70s paper is definitely yellowed a bit. This one has a little, but this one is in much better condition. I don't know where my grandfather came across either of these. Um, this one is recent enough that it has a barcode. The 1970s anthology doesn't, but the inside flap says that it's the book club edition. So I wonder if it was like a subscription thing, or my grandpa found it at a thrift store or a book swap. I don't know. I can't ask him anymore. He's gone. Um, I was kind of wrestling with that a couple of nights ago. I finished after the stream. I was putting the books away on my bookshelf, or where they're safer than on my computer desk here. I was like, oh, I can't ask him what he thought of this. Uh, it is yeah. It got me. It got to me a little. But we're okay. We're okay. Give me one moment. I need to pull my notes real quick, and we'll get reading here. Sorry about that. Hi, wow. Congrats on getting first, sweetheart. How are you? How you doing? Okay. These are both hardcover, but they have a slip cover. Um, I I don't like reading hardcovers with the slip cover on because it slides around and you know. So we'll take that off in a second. But I'm doing good. Wow, I'm doing good. There wasn't a stream last night because I forgot I had an appointment really early in the morning today. So I didn't stream at all last night just to ensure I got enough sleep because Thursdays are our Monster Hunter Rise nights. So, um, and those can go pretty late. Pretty late. So I just figured I'd play it safe and then just go to bed early, and I did. Um, I don't know if I got enough sleep, but I went to bed early. I think. Um, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Wow, we had so um, my appointment was at like 9 in the morning. For me, that's early. I got the streamer sleep schedule, uh, but um, to be ready in time, I got up at 7:30. So anyway, um, I had my appointment and it went to into the afternoon. Welcome back from the break, guys. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you. It went into the afternoon, so when I was done with everything and we were good to go, uh, I was starving, and I was with my mom, and my mom was like, "I'm hungry. Where do you want to go?" And I was like, "Well, I think I want a sandwich." And in the area, there was there's a local sandwich joint. I won't tell you its name because I think it's local, and I don't want to dox myself. But um, she hadn't been for a while, and they make the they make sandwiches and things like that, and they also sell bread, just like loaves of bread and things like pumpkin bread and regular kinds of bread and pumpkin spice bread, just a bunch of breads. And we got a bag of dinner rolls or butter rolls, because they look so good. I haven't eaten one yet, but I'm very excited. I might eat one before I go to bed. I don't know. Um, but they also sell like locally made freezer jam, which is like strawberry jam and stuff, but you keep it in the freezer. Um, I don't think I've ever had it, but my mom really likes it, and it's like the only place to get this freezer jam. So we got some of that, and my mom and my sister have gotten into like cinnamon butter recently. My sister really likes cinnamon butter, and my sister is kind of picky, so if she'll eat something, we kind of uh, get it pretty often. Um, anyway, I had a Reuben sandwich, and I don't know if I've ever had a Reuben before, but it sounded good. And it was good. It was good. It was a good sandwich. Um, and I had a mint brownie, and it was delicious. A very, very rich brownie. But it's a good sandwich place. And for two people, for mine and my mom's meal combo, we got a little bag of Lay's, and the brownie. It was like $23 for both of us. That's not bad for a lunch. And it was pretty filling. I hadn't eaten really all day since I woke up. I had some uh, peanut butter Captain Crunch for breakfast. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Um, so, yeah, and then I did laundry today and watched Hunty's stream. She was playing Cult of the Lamb today. I love Hunty's streams a lot. She's super sweet. She's very cozy. Um, and Kumi's stream too. And then we had pizza for dinner, so we had Little Caesars, and I know Little Caesars aren't people's like favorite, um, but for uh, if you want to feed a lot of people with pizza, it's kind of it's a pretty good option because it's pretty cheap, and our local or whatever Little Caesars, I think we have to order from like 2 towns out, uh, because the one down the street's pretty bad. But it's pretty consistently good. Uh, I like, I enjoy Little Caesars a lot. It's just hot, cheap food, and sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes that's all you need. Hi, chickies. I can get you a good boy. Well, sorry. Um, kind of I don't know. Was that too long explaining how my day was? I don't know. But thank you for the redeem. Let me get you a good boy. How are you, chickies? How you doing? We're gonna read some more tonight. We'll see if we finish this story. I don't know how long it is compared to the one from earlier this week. All right, let's get you a good boy. Well, just really tired. I hope you get some good sleep, chickies. Be able to get some good rest. You deserve it. It's almost the weekend. I'm good, chickies. I'm good. I had a good day. I had a yummy Reuben sandwich for lunch, and then we had pizza for dinner. So, I had a pretty good day, and it snowed. It snowed a little today, not a ton, like barely, but it's still exciting. Hi, Ninetail. Wow. Sorry, I caught that burp. Excuse me. Oh, throat gurgle. Sorry. Wow. Very, very, very good boy. the stream. Thank you, thank you. It's always good to see you. Always good to see you. Good boy, wow, good boy. You work very, very hard this week. And I'm very, very proud of you. Good. Good boy, wow, good boy. Good boy. Good boy, wow, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy. Good boy, wow. Sorry, did I start saying chickies? I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm a little sleepy. I'm a little sleepy. Good boy, wow, good boy. Good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy. Wow, thank you for being who you are and doing what you do. I think makes the world a better place, in my humble opinion, anyway. Good boy, wow, good boy. Is it you, Fiver? Yep, it is. Hi, Fiver. How you doing, sweetie? How you doing? Good boy, wow, good boy. You're such a good boy, yes you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. Good boy, Fiver, good boy. Oh, look at you, such a good boy, wow, good boy. Good boy, such a good boy, yes you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. Such a good boy. Good boy, wow, good boy. Good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy. Alright, there you go. Well, hopefully that was okay for you. Thank you for the redeem, sir. Thank you. Alright. I'm glad to hear you're doing wonderfully. I'm doing okay. I'm excited to read some more sci-fi. More recent sci-fi. Still over 20 years old, but more recent than 1970 or 1969, sorry. So, I am excited. We just need to get Chickies his good boy, then we can start reading. Chickies. Thank you for being here. Thank you for lurking and chatting. Spending time with us on this stream. Thank you. It's always good to see you. Always good to see you. Sorry, another burp. Good. Good boy, wow, good. Alright, sorry, chickies. Good boy, chickies, good boy. You worked very, very hard this week. And I'm very, very proud of you. Good. Good. boy, Jackie's a good boy. You're such a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. Good boy, Jackie's a good boy. You're such a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. Good boy, Jackie's a good boy. Such a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Good boy, Jackie's a good boy. Good boy, good boy, good boy. Oh, such a good boy, yes you are. Look at you, such a good boy. Good boy, good boy, good boy. Mwah, 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 mwah. There you go, chickies. Thank you for the redeems here. Hopefully that was okay for you. All right, let's get started here. let's get reading. All right, let me drink some water. I think I'm gonna put on some chapstick too. All right. So we'll read the inside of the slipcover and then the introduction here. I think I might just take the slipcover off first. Might be a little easier here. All right, so I have to kind of position myself to the side of the mic here on this side. So, because the lighting in my room is pretty bad. I only have one light bulb, and my back is to said light bulb, so. All right. In the heart of the new millennium, worlds beyond our imagination have opened up, blurring the line between life and art, embracing the challenges and possibilities of cyberspace, genetics, the universe, and beyond. Here, let me move a little. Night vision goggles. The world of science fiction has become a porthole into the realities of tomorrow. In the year's best science fiction 21st annual collection, our very best sci-fi authors explore ideas of a new world with such compelling stories as The Bellman by John Varley. Even in the farthest outpost of the universe, the heart of a man remains the same. In the midst of a teeming lunar colony, a resourceful cop must track a brutal serial killer who has been targeting pregnant women in this thrilling futuristic procedural. King Dragon by Michael Swanwick. An utterly fascinating story set in the world of Swanwick's popular novel, The Iron Dragon's Daughter. The author bends the razor-thin line between genres in telling the story of a man named Young Will and taking the reader on an adventure of a lifetime. The Cookie Monster by Werner Vinge. Dixie May is pleased with her new job in a high-tech company. However, a strange email sends Dixie and her colleagues deep in the heart of a fascinating mystery, a story that turns readers' expectations upside down. The 29 stories in this collection imaginatively take us far across the universe, into the very core of our beings, to the realm of the gods, and the moment just after now. Included here are the works of masters in the form of bright new talents, including Paolo Bacigalupi, Cage Baker, William Barton, M. Shane Bell, Terry Bison, Nick DiCario, Paul D. Filippo, Terry Dowling, Dominic Green, Jeffrey A. Landis, John Kessel, and Nancy Kress. Paul Melko, Judith Moffat, Stephen Popkes, Robert Reed, Christine Catherine Rush, Jeff Ryman, William Shun, Jack Skillingstead, Charles Strauss, Michael Swanwick, Harry Turtledove, James Von Pelt, John Varley, Werner Vinge, Howard Waldrop, Walter John Williams, and John C. Wright. Supplementing the stories are the editor's insightful summation of the year's events and a lengthy list of honorable mentions, making this book a valuable resource and the single best place in the universe to find stories that stir the imagination and the heart. Gardner Dozois has been working in the science fiction field for more than 30 years. Since 1985, he has been the editor of Asimov's Science Fiction magazine, during which time he has received the Hugo Award for Best Editor 13 times. He lives in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. All right. Interesting. That's a lot of authors. All right, give me one moment. I need to blow my nose real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so the first thing in this book, I'm guessing there's an introduction. There's acknowledgments made for the reprint of the following materials. I don't think we need to read all of that. Yeah, it seems like everything here is copyright 2003, so this must be a reprint. So we have the acknowledgments, summation 2003, and then Off on a Starship by William Barton. That'll be our first story. Maybe that goes from page 1 to 52, so we're definitely not finishing that tonight. Let's see. There's one called Rogue Farm on page 71 that goes to 85. Maybe we'll go with that one. Or, okay, do you guys want It's All True by John Kessel or Rogue Farm by Charles Strauss? Because the first story in this book is 50 pages long. We're not finishing that tonight. We are definitely not finishing that tonight. Maybe another time. Okay. And we have to read the summation. So, I think we'll go with Rogue Farm. Just to save some time here. Yeah, there's quite a hefty story to begin, but it makes sense, I suppose. I don't know if there's as much text on these pages as the other one. It's probably about the same. And there's a long list of names that the editor... So there's acknowledgments here. With a bunch of names. And then we have a summation, 2003. So like in the 1970s anthology, we're getting we got a summary of the events of that year. And I guess we're getting one in this year as well. So 2003, over 20 years ago. Okay. I'm guessing this was written by the editor. And the summation is quite long as well. It is very long. So, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. And going. And going. Oh my goodness. What? The summation is Very long. Okay. Anyway, thank you for Hi Grimoire Index. Thank you for the raid swear. Thank you, thank you. Oop, make sure I spell your name right. I hope I got that right. Hello, Mad Doodles. Hello, hello. Um, welcome raiders, welcome. If you don't know me, I'm Ketchup the Bear, your local Teddy variety streamer. I do ASMR streams every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, and we do handcam ASMR on Sundays. And the rest of the week we play games. Tomorrow we'll be playing some Power Wash Simulator, wrapping up spraying down the subway. Welcome raiders, welcome. If you enjoy I hope you enjoy your stay, and if you enjoy the content, please consider giving us a follow. It means a lot. Uh, so and also please go give Grimoire Index some love, please. If you were here prior to the raid and you're not following them, please give them some love. Let me do that real quick. There we go. There we go. Hi, Mad Doodles. Hello. And hi, Grimoire Index. Thank you for the raids here. Thank you for trusting me with your community. It means a lot. Thank you so much. I hope you had a lovely stream. Hope you had a lovely are having a lovely evening. I don't know what time it is for you, but it's evening for me. So, to give some context as to what we're reading, thank you for the follow, Grimoire. Thank you. Mwah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. My grandpa on my mom's side and my grandpa on my dad's side too, but more so my grandpa. It's evening as well. Let's go. I hope you're having a good evening. Hope you have a good weekend. It is Friday night. My grandpa really liked to read. And my grandpa would go to like book swaps, and he bought a bunch of stuff from the thrift store for like he read a lot, and he read every single book that he ever had at least once. I'm positive he did. And my aunt and uncle earlier this week went through the storage in the house. They're in my grandpa's house right now. They have the house. I'm in a different house. Anyway, they went through some of the storage and they found a bulk of my grandpa's collection. I doubt it's everything. And they were going to give it to the DI. Hi, Mercury. Hi, sweetie. How you doing? Mwah. Happy Femboy Friday. It is Friday. But my grandpa has a bunch of books. It's like it's 7 boxes of books. And I spent an hour looking through half of them on Wednesday to see if there's anything I wanted. I took 5 books so far. They're still upstairs. I can take more if I want. My grandpa really liked sci-fi and fantasy, specifically the Dragon Riders of Pern books. I don't really know anything about those. My dad likes them. I might take some to read. I don't know where to start. He's got a ton of them. He has a ton of the Dragon Riders of Pern books. Just a ton of them. And he's got a bunch of these paperback little skinny sci-fi novels with no barcode. Like they're old enough that before ISBN codes, they just had like a price of like 75 cents on the cover, like a comic book. So yeah. And I was going through them, and he had a hardback copy of the Shogun, or just I think it's just Shogun, but it's volume 2, so, and I didn't find volume 1, so I didn't take it because I wouldn't know what was going on, and I showed my mom, and she's like, "Oh, he loved that show," because apparently My grandpa, whenever it came on TV, he'd just watch the Shogun because they made a Shogun miniseries in 1980, and they made a new one in 2024. I don't know if either is good, if one's better than the other. I have no idea. I just know my grandpa seemed to like it a lot. So if it was on TV, my mom and her siblings knew they weren't going to get to watch whatever they wanted on the TV that day. Um, anyway, so the 5 books I took, um, one's called Dinosaur Summer. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember all the authors. I apologize. But it's called Dinosaur Summer. The synopsis is I think it's either in the same setting as The Lost World or whatever it's called, where they find this isolated plateau in South America, and there's all these dinosaurs and extinct megafauna on this isolated plateau. And decades after they discover these dinosaurs, people are completely tired of dinosaurs in this setting, which is just stupid. I hate it. It bothers me a lot. Um, we still go to zoos to look at elephants and rhinos. Why would we get bored of a like multi-ton carnivore? It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, um, there's a circus in South America that goes bankrupt, and they had dinosaurs in their circus. So this group of people decides they're gonna hike all these dinosaurs back to the plateau to reintroduce them into the wild. That's the synopsis of that one. Another one I picked up is Dinotopia Lost. It's a Dinotopia book. The only reason I know about Dinotopia is that there was a movie, a cartoon movie when I was little that I watched a lot. Um, it was just a movie, but I think the main character's name, I think his name was Max. He wore a red jacket and had a green skateboard. His like big thing was skating, and he was from an orphanage, and then he hitchhikes on a plane, gets on like the landing gear like Toy Story, and then ends up in Dinotopia somehow. I don't remember. That or a boat. I don't know. But Dinotopia Lost is not written by James Gurney or whatever the guy's name, the guy that created Dinotopia. It's by a guy that did 2002. Yeah. Yep. 2002, or no, it was the guy. Sorry, there's just words in my head. I apologize. It's written by a guy that did Star Wars novels and the uh novel series for Aliens. Um, I can't remember what his name is, but uh, it seems like he's done good work. And it's Dinotopia. I recognize that name, so I took that book. And then a third one. I have the slipcover here. Is titled "The Moon is a Harsh Mistress" by Robert A. Heinlein, something like that. I picked it up, one because the slipcover is very shiny, and it has a tagline here: "The greatest science fiction writer of the modern age." His classic Hugo Award-winning novel of libertarian revolution. So the synopsis of this one, I haven't started any of these books, by the way, but the gist of it is like Earth in the future decides to just make the moon a penal colony and just send criminals there, I guess. And the novel is about the people on the moon rebelling against Earth. That's like the broad strokes of it. I don't know. It has a quote by Tom Clancy on the back, so I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's good. But I haven't read it. But it seemed interesting. And then the other 2 books I grabbed, we read from this one on Wednesday. This is World's Best Science Fiction 1970 an anthology of the year's best science fiction stories by a collection of stories by like 7 different authors, maybe 8, and it was edited by Donald A. Wollheim and Terry Carr. Excuse me, burps. And we read the first story in this on Wednesday, just because I was curious. It's titled "A Man Speaketh." Speaketh as in Speekith, like Old English speaketh, I guess. It was written by Richard Wilson. That's the author. It was very interesting. All the stories in this anthology were published in 1969, so all of the jokes, most of them, besides like the potty jokes, there's an odd number of potty jokes in this story. Um, like an important character's nickname is just Poopy. They call him Poopy because they called his dad Potty because his last name was Potterson, and he invented a really good toilet, and then he became like a trillionaire and made spaceships. Or his son invested that money into making a spaceship. Anyway, it's interesting, but a lot of it went over my head, and it at times felt like trying to read the Old Testament and how it's written is like, what are they talking about? I don't understand. But I got the toilet humor, and there's a quote by Popeye in here: "I am what I am." That I got that part. There's a point in the book, in the story, where the main character, his name is Ed. He's a disc jockey, so he's a guy that ran a radio show, and the book is told from 2 points of view. Ed just talking to himself. He's the last living human from Earth. Earth split open like a cantaloupe, and everybody died. So he's all by himself, or thinks he is. The ship is listening to him. The ship is made of this machine. This is 69, so I don't know if they've coined the term AI yet. They don't call it AI, it's just a smart machine. And the machine's name is Marty. So Ed talks to himself and yaps much nonsense. And Marty talks to us, the reader, and explains his interpretation of what Ed means and is saying, and what he's learning from Ed. So, so all that Ed has on this ship is his phonograph or his record player, his records, and like a bunch of bourbon, and all of his food is reconstituted from his waste. So he never gains weight because he's just re-eating his waste, but made edible in bourbon. Because the guy, Poopy, Potty's son, commissioned this space yacht and commissioned this guy from Kentucky to distill like tens of thousands of gallons of bourbon and put it in this huge tank on this space yacht. So Ed eats reconstituted food and drinks bourbon and then yaps into a microphone and plays music occasionally, like a disc jockey. And the one part in this book that made me laugh, like it actually got me to laugh because I got the joke. Kind of. let's, let's see. I barely remember who wrote Tom Jones or Jane Eyre, but certain titles and authors from my high school days are engraved on my memory. They wouldn't bear repeating, except that's all that they're doing to me. Repeating as if to pound it home that these samples of what my education has left me with. Volume 1, The Open Kimono by Seymour Hare, and Volume 2, The Yellow Stream by I.P. Standing. That got me to laugh. It's funny. Potty jokes. But it's a fairly short story. And we read that on Wednesday. And so this is an anthology of the best science fiction and these two guys' opinion from 1969. And in the introduction, they mention this newfangled stuff like color movies and television or whatever. I don't know if they had color in 69, but they're all excited about the prospects of what television and movies can do. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, it was about then, huh? Anyway, it was an interesting story. Um, I don't know if I'd recommend it, but a lot of it went over my head. And the other one I have here is an anthology by different people, by one guy, Gardner Dezoy. I hope that's how you say his last name. From 2003. So a little over 20 years after 1969, and 20 years ago from now. So it's been a while. And I was like, okay, let's read the first story in both and see how different they are. That might be fun. I open up this one. I'm thumbing through to find the contents. The first book here, Off on a Starship by William Barton, goes from page 1 to 52. We're not finishing that tonight. It's already been 50 minutes. But there's acknowledgments, which is just a long list of names and things, and then there's a summation. And the summation is very long, probably longer than some of the stories in this book. So I'm not sure what to do. This summation is very long. I don't know if it's all... I don't know. Do we read the summation? It's very... it's very long. So is Off on a Starship. There's some stories in this that aren't that long. So before the raid, I was asking, do you guys want... Because there's two that are fairly short here, like 10-something pages. We could probably get through tonight. And then if we do, we can read some of the summation, I suppose. We have It's All True by John Kessel. That goes from page 52 to 71, so not too bad. And then Rogue Farm by Charles Stross on page 71 to 85. I don't know about what either of them are about, but does either sound more interesting to you guys? Because if we start Off on a Starship, we're not finishing it till like maybe in the end of next week. Which is fine. I'm very curious about It's All True on page 52. That's Rogue Farm. But I thought it would be a nice like point of comparison here, because both stories were at least the title Off on a Starship makes me think they both involve a starship. So I thought that might be an interesting point of comparison to a story from 69 and then a story from 2003 or 2002. I don't know. But I think we'll start with It's All True and then maybe Off on a Starship. Or we start Off on a Starship and then continue it next week on Wednesday. We can do that too. I am very curious about it. Should we just read Off on a Starship? Okay. What we'll do, we'll read like maybe the first 2 or 3 pages of the summation, just to get a vibe, because the summary or foreword in the 70s anthology was very interesting. enlightening, I suppose. They were like, there's all these young people writing sci-fi. It's exciting, and television. It's great. I'm so excited with the future holds. And this is before Star Wars and all that nonsense. So it was very cool. It was also like 2.5 pages. Anyway, we could read some of the summation. I'm very curious. I don't. Anyway, here we go. We'll read some of the summation. Maybe the first 2 pages. In spite of rough financial seas in the general economy, the genre publishing world remained not only afloat but relatively stable throughout 2003. It took some hits, yes, and as did most sectors of the economy, but so far, knock wood, nothing catastrophic or crippling, nothing that would seem to indicate a depression or even a serious recession ahead. This is 5 years before 2008. That's kind of sad. In fact, over the last couple of years, the science fiction and fantasy genres have been, for the most part, expanding rather than contracting. Yes, we lost the British sci-fi line Earthlight in 2003, a casualty of the chaotic reorganization global cutbacks going on within Simon and Schuster. Rock and Ace are merging their editorial staffs while remaining separate imprints. Big Engine, one of the more ambitious new small presses, discovered that they had bitten off more than they could chew and went out of business. And several more SF specialty bookshops closed their doors, unable to compete with the discounts offered by the chain bookstores and online bookstores. But on the other hand, 5 new genre young adult lines were added to the field at the end of 2003 or the beginning of 2004. Dorchester Publishing is adding a new trade paperback fantasy imprint. Tor is adding a new paranormal romance line. Harlequin is adding a few fantasy line with romantic elements. 5 Star Books is expanding this year to 78 books per year, while changing its emphasis from short story collections to novels, with 26 of those being SF or fantasy. Nightshade Books is expanding to 20 books, with an eventual goal of doing 48 titles annually. In Small Beer Press, Golden Griffin Press, Subterranean Press, PS Publishing, and others are all expanding their lines and venturing into publishing novels in addition to their usual connections. In fact, the minuscule press, to use Charles N. Brown's memorable phrase for publishers, quote, a layer under the small press, close quote, is booming like never before. I've said this before, but with all this SF is dying talk that still goes on at conventions and in online forums and bulletin boards, perhaps it's worth saying again. For some historical perspective, the next time that you hear the SF genre is dying, keep in mind that the number of original science fiction novels published in 2003, 236 according to the magazine Locus, is alone higher than the total number of original genre books of any sort published in 1972, which is pretty close to the year that those books came. Yeah, okay. We got some crossover here, which was 225. An article I saw online at the NewYorkTimes.com site by Danita Smith had a similar perspective. The best-selling novel of 1975, according to Publishers Weekly's annual fiction bestseller list, was E.L. Doctorow's novel Ragtime, which sold 232,000 copies in hardcover. The best-selling novel of the year 2000 was John Grisham's novel The Brethren, and it sold 2,875,000 copies, an increase of more than 1,000%. According to a new survey of a quarter-century publishing, an estimated 114,487 different titles were published in 2001. I hope I said the number right. Compared with 39,000 titles in 1975, with more people buying them. So there are more books being published than ever, more people are buying them than ever, and, thanks to online booksellers, and yes, the much despised chain bookstores, more people have easier access to those books than ever before. Doesn't sound like either the much feared and much warned against death of literacy or the death of science fiction to me. In fact, it sounds like a lot better than the world I was born into, where only a relatively small percentage of the population read with any regularity. I don't know if that's improved since 2003. Maybe it has. I don't know. Especially pleasure reading. Only a comparatively small number of titles of any sort were published every year. You were lucky if you could find 3 science fiction titles published per month. For example, sometimes there were none. And if you lived in a small town as I did, you had to travel miles, 20 miles in my case, to the nearest large city to find a proper bookstore. And then when you found one, there was no such thing as a science fiction section in it, nor was there any internet which you could employ to order books in a wide variety of formats with a few clicks of a button. There are subsequently which are subsequently sent direct to your door. So maybe the present isn't as bad as we sometimes make it out to be, which prompts me to hope that maybe the future won't be as bad as we fear it will be either. It wasn't all smooth sailing in the genre this year, of course. There were some shakeups. Anthony Cheetham, Cheetham, founder and CEO of Orion Publishing Group in the United Kingdom, was dismissed, being replaced as CEO by Group Managing Director and co-founder Peter Roche. Malcolm Edwards. Malcolm Edwards will move into the newly created position of Deputy CEO and Publisher, directing publishing policy for the entire Orion Publishing Group, including the SF line. Uh, oh, including the SF line, Galonas, Galunks, Galunks. Laura Ann Gilman stepped down as rock editor to pursue a freelance career, and it was announced that Rock is to merge with Ace in the editorial level. Rock will remain in NAL imprint with separate publications, but editorial will be merged into Berkeley's Berkeley's Ace operations under Berkeley executive editor and Ace editor in chief Susan Allison. Will Ace personnel Giner Buchanan, John Morgan, and Ann Sowards have been made full editors and will work for both houses. Rock editor Jennifer Heddle subsequently left to become editor at Pocket Books, replaced by Rowe at Elizabeth Shire. Hired as an NAL editor who will also work on Rock. And in early 2004, just before press time, it was announced that John Ordover, longtime editor at the Star Trek novel line at Pocket Books, has moved over to become editor-in-chief of the small press Phobos Books. Oh, just heads up, we do have the next ad break about 4.5 minutes. I don't know if this stuff's interesting. Do we keep reading the summation? Is it any fun? Are we having fun here? It's not as interesting. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's from 2003 and it's so long. But I guess he's going into pretty deep depth here about the workings of the publishing industry, and it looks like he goes into talk about other things. Like I think 2003 is the year Revenge of the Sith released. I think, or is that 2006? I don't know. Okay. Anyway, let's read off on a starship. Let's read it. It's 50 pages. I don't know. We'll just read it. We'll just start it, and then we'll read it again on Wednesday. We'll see if we finish it. But hi, Mercury. Sorry. Hi, Mercury. I hope you're doing alright, sweetheart. I hope if you're still here. There we go. Please go give Mercury lots of love. He's a fellow boy of the femme variety. He's very sweet. He also posts things on Twitter and Blue Sky on Fridays. He's the reason I do it. And he's very sweet. He's very sweet. Please give him follow, give him some love. It's quite the summation here. Okay. All right. Off on a Starship by William Barton. Vivid, colorful, and packed with more sense of wonder evoking moments than most authors' trilogies, the story that follows sweeps us along with a young man who's embarked on the greatest adventure of his or anyone else's life, one as full as one as full of dangers, marvels, and enigmatic mysteries as any boy's heart could yearn for, and a few surprises that even the most imaginative young man couldn't have suspected were in store for him. William Barton was born in Boston in 1950 and currently resides in Durham, North Carolina. For most of his life, he has been an engineering technician specializing in military and industrial technology. He at one time employed by at one time employed by the Department of Defense, working on the nation's nuclear submarine fleet, and is currently a freelance writer and computer consultant. His stories have appeared in Aboriginal SF, Asimov science fiction, sci fiction, amazing, uh, amazing, Interzone, Tomorrow, Full Spectrum, and other markets. His books include the novels Hunting on Kundera, A Plague of All Cowards, Dark Sky Legion, When Heaven Fell, The Transmigration of Souls, which has a finalist for the Philip K. Dick Award, and Acts of Conscience, and in collaboration with Michael Capobianco, Iris, Fellow Traveler, and Alpha Centauri. His most recent novels are White Light in collaboration with Michael Capobianco, and the solo novel When Were We Real? When Were We Real? Oh, When We Were Real. Hi, Crid. Sorry, we spent an hour yapping about reading, and now we're just starting. I apologize. But please give. Anyway, sorry. Hi, Crid. How you doing, sweetheart? Mwah. We do have the next ad break here in about 19 seconds. Hi, CJ. How you doing, sweetheart? You made it in time for the story. We're gonna start reading Off on a Starship. It's 50 pages long, so we're not finishing it tonight, but we should be able to finish it Wednesday or maybe Friday. It's just the first book in this anthology, so I figure we read the first one in the 1970s book. We'll read the first one here. This one's just double the length of the other one we read on Wednesday, so we're not finishing it tonight. But we're reading Off on a Starship by William Barton, sorry. William Barton. We were going to read the summation. There is a summation, like in the 70s book, but the summation is like as long as the story we read last time. So I read the first couple paragraphs. All these stories, this story is not from 1969. This one is from 2003. So, modern. That's still 20 years ago. We're almost as far from 2003 as 2003 is from 1969, which is a scary thought. Maybe not scary, but like, oh my goodness, it's been that long, huh? So, when this was printed, I was 3 years old, which I was watching Magic School Bus. So, so I'm very interested to see how this differs from Man Speaketh. These both involve a spaceship in some capacity here. I'm just very curious. I wanted to read the first story in each just to see what the separation of like 30 years does to sci-fi. I don't know if that's fair because they're not like the same story or by the same people. Um, but I don't know. It's fun. Um, but yeah, that's what we're reading, CJ. But how are you? Hope you're doing okay. And how are you, Crid? Mwah. Okay. Do I wait for the ad break to be done? It's an ASMR stream. You guys never get ads, which is completely fine. That's completely fine. But I might wait. We can wait a minute. But it's from 2003, so hopefully I'll get the references that the protagonists make or the story makes itself. I got one or two in A Man Speaketh. Um, A Man Speaketh, I understood the toilet humor, like literal potty jokes, and he quoted Popeye saying, "I am what I am." So, anyway, I need a bookmark. I'll use this art card from Phyrexia. All will be one. We'll use that. Hi Haku, I'm doing good. We were about to start reading the story. Some sci-fi from 2003. We read some sci-fi from 1969 on Wednesday. But how are you, Haku? I hope you're doing right, sweetheart. Let's get you your good boy. Welcome back for the ad break, guys. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you. You're good. That's good to hear. Good. Thank you for being here. It's always good to see you. Always good to see you. You're a very good boy. And I'm very proud of you. Good boy, Haku. Good boy. You're such a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. Good boy. Uh-huh. Such a good boy. Oh, look at you. Such a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. Good boy, Haku. Good boy. Look at you. Such a good boy. Oh, yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. 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 Mwah, 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 mwah. Good boy, Uncle. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Mwah, 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 mwah. Okay. Thank you for the reading, Haku. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully that was alright for you. Alright, let's get some reading in. Try to make some progress here. Alright. So this is page 2 of the book. After like 10 pages of summation, which is fine, but it's a lot. Summation. So this is Off on a Starship by William Barton. If you want to read along, I don't know where this is available, if it's available. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Isn't that how it's supposed to go? It was. Oh, I guess at the middle of November. It was, or I guess the middle of November 1966. Excuse me, sorry. That night, maybe 7 p.m., dark out, of course, cold and quiet. Sorry about all burps, goodness. It was very nice. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Haku. Where was I? The sky over Woodbridge, Virginia was flooded with stars. So many stars the black night, clear and crisp, had a vaguely lit up quality to it, as if ever so slightly green. Maybe it was the lights from the gas stations and little shopping centers lining Route 1, not far away. I was walking home alone from the drug fair in Fisher Shopping Center up by the highway, where I'd read comic books and eat where I'd read two sorry, where I'd read comic books and eaten 2 servings of ketchupy French fries. Hey, it's me, moping by myself. If I'd stayed too long, reading all the way through the current Fantastic Four, so I could put it back and not pay. I was supposed to have been home by 6:30, so my mom could head out on her date. Out with some fat construction worker or another some guy with beery breath and dirty hair, the sort of guy she'd been seeing. And I knew what was meant by that. One after another, in the 2 years since she'd run off my dad, leaving me home alone to look after my 2 little sisters, ages 3 and 7. I remember thinking how pissed off she was going to be. I was standing on the east rim of Dorvo Valley, looking out onto the shadows, thinking about how really dark it was down there. An empty bowl of land, looking mysterious as ever. Murray and I named it that when we discovered it 3 years ago. Maybe a half-mile of empty land cleared of underbrush, surrounded by trees. Called it after a place in the book we'd been trying to write back then, the Venusian, the Venusians. Our answer to Barsoom, though we'd kind of given it up after Pirates of Venus came out. Murray, prick. That's why I was at the drug fair alone. There'd been silence after I called his house. Then his mother had said, "I'm sorry, Wally. Murray's gone off with Larry again tonight. I don't know when he'll be home. I'll tell him you called." I felt hollow, remembering the times we'd sat together at drug fair, reading comics for free, drinking cherry cokes, and eating those ketchupy French fries. Remembered last summer, here in Dorvo, the very last time we'd played Venus together, wielding our river reed swords lopping the sentient berry clusters from the contact bushes we called red devils, laughing and pretending we'd fallen into a book. Our book. Murray's dad was the one named Murray's dad was the one named them contact bushes, telling us they were really ephedra? Ephedra, and that's where the stuff in allergy medicines came from. But then school started, 11th grade, and we'd met Larry. Larry was going to study with Susie. Larry, who was going to study with Susie, pretty blonde Susie, who had a chunky girlfriend named Emily, who wore glasses. Something like this had happened before, when we were maybe 10 or 11, and Murray had joined Little League, telling me I could help him find his way as an all-around boy. This time, I think, the key word would be it's a naughty part of a lady, instead of baseball. I stood silent, looking out across the dark valley, the black silhouette of the woods beyond, above them, the fat golden spire of Our Lady of Angels Catholic Church floodlit from below, where I'd been forced to go before my parents split up. In the Dorval Valley mythos, on our wonderfully complete Venus, lost Venus, we'd call it the Temple of Venusia, and the city at its feet, no mere shopping centre, but the Dorval capital, Angor, portmanteaued, giddy French angel of gold. I realized I'd better get going. The black woods, down the full length of the Greenacre Drive, past Murray's house, where his parents would be sitting silent before the TV, drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon beer across the creek, up Stag's Court into my furious, desperately horny mom. Okay, Book. If I was lucky, she'd spend the night with whoever it was, and I wouldn't have to lay in bed in the dark myself listening to their goings on. I blew out a long breath, a long wisp of warm condensation flickering like a ghost in the bit of light from the sky full of stars, and stopped. Eyes caught by some faint gleam from deep in the valley of the shadow. I felt my heart quicken, caught in the mythiopic moment. Look, Murray, a cloud shimmer. Yeah, right. Where's Murray now? In a dark movie theater somewhere with his hands groping a girl's dress like a real grown-up boy. But the gleam was there, really there. And after another moment, I started walking down through the long grass, stumbling over red devils and weeds, skirting around holes I could barely see, but remembered from long familiarity with the place, night vision growing keener as I went down in the dark. Looking toward the phantom gleam, I thought to shade my eyes with one hand, occluding the golden angel, cutting off more light from the stars. Stopped walking. Thought, no. I looked away, blinking like a moron, looked back. The flying saucer was a featureless disk, not quite sitting on the ground, maybe 6 feet across, the size of a house anyway. Not shiny where I would have reflected more starlight. There were things in the deeper shadows underneath it. Standing legs, maybe, in other shadows, moving shadows, rustling in the brush nearby, near me. Something started to squeeze in my chest. Something else started to tickle between my legs. I need to pee. Okay, more potty jokes. I slowly walked the rest of the way down the hill until I was standing under its rim. The moving shadows in the underneath were things roughly the size and shape of land crabs. A little bigger, maybe, with no claws, though I couldn't make out what was there in their place. They seemed to be taking hold of the red devils, bending them down, pulling off the little berry clusters. What the hell would clawless land crabs want with contact berries? Robots. In a comic book, these would be robots. Anyway, they seemed to be ignoring me. I felt unreal, the way you feel when you've taken 2 to 3 contact capsules or maybe drink an entire bottle of Vicks Formula 44 cough syrup. There was a long, narrow ramp projecting from the underside of the saucer, leading up to an opening in the hull. Not dark inside, but lit up very dim indigo, perhaps the gleam I'd seen from the valley's rim. I walked up to it, heart stuttering weirdly, walked up it and went inside. In movies, flying saucers have ray cannons, and they burn down your city. In my head, I could hear Murray, jealous Murray, girl on his fingers forgotten, wondering where I'd gotten the where I'd gotten the nerve. But I went inside anyway. It turned out the thing was like the saucer ship from the day the earth stood still. There was a curved corridor, one wall solid, the other lattice, wall sloping slightly inward, a little vertical row of lights here beside something that looked like a door. Around the curve, I caught my breath, holding stock still, heart racing up my throat. Held still and wondered again at finding myself here. The thing didn't look much like Gort from the movie. Not so featureless, real joints at elbows, wrists, knees, hips, but there was nothing where its face should be either, just a silvery shield, a curved pentagonoid, roughly the shape of an urban policeman's badge, like the Boston Metro badge my Uncle Al wore. I stood in front of it, looking up, no taller than my dad, so only an inch or two taller than me. Looking up Looking up has to be an illusion. It looked a bit like the robots I used to draw as part of the Star Rover stories I once tried to write. The ones filled the the ones that filled the background of all those drawings I did of hero Zoltan Tharky, policeman Dexter, and Colleen, Kayleen, Colleen, and all the odds and sods villains they faced together. I remember Murray and I used to sit together at drug fair, tracing pictures from comic books and coloring books, filling in our own details. Tharky and Kalen and the robots, Elendar and Rayterion from Venus. I remember those two had girlfriends and stopped myself, shivering. I reached out and touched the thing. Cold. Motionless. My voice sounded rusty as I whispered, Kalatu Barata. Strangled off a bit of giggles with something like a sneeze. Patricia Neal, I remembered, couldn't pronounce the words the same as Michael Rennie, substituting Klata Baroda in her quaint American drawl. Quit it! Jesus! Nothing. I turned away from the silvery phantasm. Maybe nothing more than an empty suit of armor? Slid my fingers along the light panel. Just as in the movie, the door slipped open and I went on through. Oh! I could hardly recognize my own voice, shocky and faint. There was another corridor beyond the door, and its far wall was transparent, like heavy glass or maybe lucite. There was smoky yellow light in the room beyond, lots of water, things like ferns, something in the steamy mist. I put my nose to the warm glass, bug-eyed, remembering the scene from near the end of Tom Swift in the Race to the Moon, maybe my favorite book from the series, where they finally get aboard the robot saucer sent by the space friends. Little dinosaurs, little tyrannosaurs, little brontosaurs, little pteranodons winging through the mist. Not quite like Brontosaurus, I told myself, voice quiet but louder than a whisper. Head's too long and skinny. Not a diplodocus either, nostrils in the wrong place. There were other things moving back in the mist. Babies, maybe. Hatchlings? Would that be the right word? I walked on, slowly going through another door, walking along another hallway. After a while, I began to wonder how they got all this space folded up into a flying saucer little enough to fit in Dorfo Valley. Another robot, yet another door, and I found myself in a curved room with big windows on the outside. Obdeck, the voice in my head called it, pulling another word from another book. As I pressed to the glass, cold glass this time, looking out on greenish night. Dover Valley, little land crab robots, brilliant green light flooding up from the ground beyond the forest. Something odd. It isn't that bright outside. It can't be much more than 8 p.m. Little frozen image of my mother. How long before she calls the police? Thought dismissed. What should I do? Get out of here. Run home. Call the cops yourself. I pictured that. Picture them laughing at me as they hung up. As I turned to face my raging mother, you little bastard, she would say, Bob didn't even wait for me. Pictured that other scenario. The cops come, we go to Dorva Valley, nothing. Not even a circle of crushed vegetation. And either way, I go to school in the morning. Where do we get out? One way or another. The lights flickered suddenly. A soft female voice said, Rathan Adon Dahad Shai Akam Amarale, before more flickers. Outside, I could see the little land crabs were making their way downhill, dragging the loads of harvested red devils. Cold clamp in my bowels. I turned and ran. Through the door, down the corridor, through the next door, up another, round the curve, back through. Obdeck! Turned back, found myself facing a faceless robot, still motionless, started to whimper. Please! There was a rumbling whine from somewhere down below, spaceship's structure shivering. The lights flickered again, the lady's voice murmuring, Amagolath Oris Temthuel Aglat Eoteo. More flicker. Something started to whine far, far away, like the sing-song moan of a Manchurian drive. Something, I don't know how you pronounce that word. I felt my rectum turn watery on me, clenched hard to stop from pooping myself and snarled, That's just a story. Think, do something, you friggin' idiot. As if my father's words could help me now, I turned and looked out the window, just in time to see the ground under the saucer drop away. Suddenly, surrounding the dark woods, the map of Maromusco village was picked out in the streetlights. There was Greenacre Drive, where Murray's parents would be finishing up their beer, beyond the dark strip of the creek halfway up Stagg's Court, and had to be the porch light of my house, where by now my mom would be about ready to kill me. It shrank into a splatter of light surrounded by the rest of Woodbridge. Little Occoquan off the way squashed my face to the glass, looking north, and was elated to see, from 22 miles away, you could still make out the lights of the Pentagon, could see the floodlit shape of the Capitol Dome, the yellowish spike of the Washington Monument. City lights everywhere I looked, speckles and sparks, rivers of light, brighter and more numerous than the stars in the sky. I'd never flown on a plane at night before. I felt my face grow cold, watched the landscape shrink. Suddenly, light appeared in the west, like sunrise. No, I'm high high enough up the sun is shining from where it's still daytime. Turned toward the blue. On the horizon, the curved horizon, there was a band of blue. Above it, only black. Sunlight washing away the stars. Curved? Bolt of realization. I can see the curvature of the earth. That means I shivered again, and then I wondered, briefly, if Buzz Aldrin and Jim Lovell were somewhere nearby, peering out through the tiny rendezvous window of Gemini 13. Watching my flying saucer rise. Whole Earth bulging up below now, looking for a moment like the pictures sent it down from Gemini 11? 12? I don't know, which had gone all the way up to an 850-mile apogee. I turned to a gibbous blue world, getting smaller and smaller still. Something flashed by, huge and yellow-gray. Moon! It's the moon! How fast? That was no more than a 5-minute trip. I tried to do the calculation in my head. Couldn't quite manage. I'd never been any good at math. A lot slower than the speed of light, anyway. I remembered the final scene from Invaders from Mars, where the little boy wakes up from his dream. I felt a cold hand on my heart. If I wake up now and it's time for school, why don't I just kill myself and get over with? But the ship flew on into the black and starry sky, and I realized, after my moment of inattention, I could no longer find the earth or moon. Where am I going? And why? I don't know. There's some naughty words in this one. There's more naughty words in this than in the 69 story. I don't know. I don't know if I'm liking this one. It's like I've had a good time reading it, I suppose, but there's bad words, and I don't want to say those words. All right. Let's read It's All True. Let's try that one. I had a more vivid image of the story in my head than I did with the 69 book, but '69 story. Still didn't get a ton of those references because I haven't seen any of those sci-fi movies. How true will it all be, though? I guess we'll find out. Fiverr. I'll maybe read that story off on a starship on my own time. Okay, this is It's All True by John Kessel. We might be able to finish this one tonight. It goes from page 51 to 75. Something like that. It's All True, John Kessel. Born in Buffalo, New York, John Kessel now lives with his family in Raleigh, North Carolina, where he's a professor of American literature and director of the creative writing program at North Carolina State University. Excuse me. Kessel made his first sale in 1975. His first solo novel, Good News from Outer Space, was released in 1988 to wide critical acclaim. But before that, he had made his mark on the genre primarily as a writer of high imaginative, finely crafted short stories, many of which were assembled in his collection. Meeting in Infinity. He won a Nebula Award in 1983 for his superlative novella Another Orphan, which was also a Hugo finalist that year and has been released as an individual book. His story Buffalo won the Theodore Sturgeon Award in 1991, and his novella Stories for Men won the prestigious James Tiptree Jr. Memorial Award in 2003. Self-care time? Okay. Thank you, Fiverr. Stretch. Water and a treat. I think we'll have some Smarties. I don't think I have very many peanuts left, and I feel like eating something sweet. Okay. I don't know. What did you think, Fiverr? What did you think of Up on a Starship, or whatever it's called? Off on a Starship. Alright, I'm eating some Smarties. Thank you for the redeems, Fiverr. Thank you. Okay. All right. So, if you happen to have this book, we're on page 52. Won the James Tiptree Jr. Memorial Award in 2003. His other books include the novel Freedom Beach, written in collaboration with James Patrick Kelly, and an anthology of stories from the famous Sycamore Hill Writers Workshop, which he also helps to run, called Intersections, co-edited by Mark L. Van Name and Richard Butner. Just got back when you started talking about it. It's all true. Oh, I see. we were reading Off on a Starship. There were swear words in there, and I don't mind swearing, but like, I don't know. I'm okay. I wasn't really feeling it that much. It was easier to follow than A Man Speaketh, but his most recent books are a major new novel, Corrupting Dr. Nice, and a new collection, The Pure Product. His stories have appeared in our first, second, in collaborations, James Patrick Kelly, 4th, 6th, 8th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 19th, and 20th annual collections. Here he takes us back in time to the glamorous Tinseltown of the early 20th century to show us that sometimes second chances aren't all they're cracked up to be. Okay. On the desk of... So this is now the story. On the desk of the marina office of a black oscillating fan rattled gusts of hot air across the sports page. It was a perfect artifact of the place and time. The fan raised a few strands of the harbor master's hair every time its gaze passed over him. He studied my papers, folded the damp sheets, and handed them back to me. Okay, Mr. Vinder's yacht is at the end of the second row. He pointed out the open window down the crowded pier. The big black one. Is the rest of the crew aboard? Beats me, he said, sipping from a glass of iced tea. He set the perspiring glass down on a ring of moisture that ran through the headline. Cards shade Dodgers in 12. Cut lead 5 to a half. Cut lead to 5.5. On the floor beside the desk lay the front page. New sea air battle rages in Solomon's Japanese counterattack on Guadalcanal. I stepped out onto the dock, shouldered my bag, and headed towards the yacht. The sun beamed down on the crown of my head, and my shirt collar was damp with sweat. I pulled the bandana from my pocket and wiped my brow. For midweek, the place was pretty busy. A number of Hollywood types down for the day or a start on a long weekend. Across the waterway, tinkers were drawn up beside a refinery. Hi, Mooney. Let me finish this next paragraph here. The Sayonara was a 96-foot-long two-mast schooner with a crew of 4 and compartments for 10. The big yacht was an active vanity, but King Vidor was one of the most successful directors in Hollywood, and, though notorious for his parsimony, still capable of indulging himself. A blond kid, who ought to have been drafted by now, was polishing the brasswork. He looked up as I stepped aboard. I ducked through the open hatchway into a varnished oak companionway and up to the pilot house. The captain was there, bent over the chart table. How you doing, Mooney? What would you like me to tap on, sweetheart? What would you like me to do some tappies on? Let's get you a good girl. Alright, let's get these done so we can get through this story. I don't think we're finishing it tonight, though. Probably not. Mooney. You're a very, very good girl. And I'm very, very proud of you. You worked very, very hard this week. And I'm very, very proud of you. Did I already say that? Sorry. You're a very, very good girl. Good girl, Mooney. Good girl. Good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl, good girl. Good. good girl, Mooney. Good girl. You're such a good girl. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good girl. Good girl, Mooney. Good girl. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good girl. Good girl, Mooney. Good girl. Mwah, 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 mwah. Good girl. Look at you, such a good girl. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good girl. Good girl, Mooney. Good girl. Mm-hmm. Oh, look at you, such a good girl. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good girl. Good girl, Mooney. Good girl. Mwah, 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 mwah. All right, Mooney. Would you like some tapping on some cardboard boxes? Or I could do some tappies on the book here. Goodness. Sorry. My dad just... Oh, there's another one. My dad's sneezing in the other room. I apologize. Sheesh. Scratchies? What would you like me to do scratchies on in anything in particular, Fiverr? Scratchies on the book? Or I can grab the Gunpla kit box. Okay. What is that? Oh, a worm? Or is it a possum? Is it a possum? Looks like a tiny, the tiny version on the chat widget of my monitor. Almost looks like a tiny little theropod or something. Like scratches? Okay. Showing on the post. Gotcha. Well, we're coming up on 2 hours. I don't know if we're gonna read any more out of this one at this point. I don't know if I'm enjoying it as much as a man speaketh. I mean, we haven't even really started. It's all true. Still, but I kind of want to read more out of the 1969 book. Who do we have to read tonight? We don't have very many options here. Minari's not live anyway. No Wampus. Pupcat is doing art. Oh, Emmy's live. I don't know. What do you guys think? All right. We've only read 4 paragraphs out of It's All True. But I don't know if reading on stream is good for us, you know. I think if I wanted to read on stream and do like and finish stories, we have to turn trigger requests off and stuff. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It's not because you guys are like bothering me redeeming things or anything, but I don't know. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? All right. Let's get you a good boy fiver. Fiver. Very, very good boy. Good boy, fiver. Good boy. Excuse me. Burp. Good boy, fiver. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy, fiver. Good boy. Fiver, thank you for being here. Thank you for lurking and chatting and spending time with us on this stream. Sorry, I don't know what that was. It's probably my brother. Maybe my dad yelling. I don't know what that was. Good boy, Fiver. Good boy. Good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy. Good boy. Good boy, Fiver. Good boy. Fiver, you're a good boy, Fiver, good boy. You're such a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. Good boy, Fiver, good boy. Uh-huh. Look at you, such a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. Good boy, Fiver, good boy. Such a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. Good boy, Fiver, good boy. Mwah, 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 mwah. Good boy, good boy, good boy. Such a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good boy. Mwah, 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 mwah. Good boy, Fiver. Good boy. Mwah, mwah, mwah. There you go, Fiver. Hopefully that was okay for you, sweetheart. Alright, we'll read for a little longer. We'll probably call it night here in like 20 minutes or so. Um, we'll probably raid Emmy. Convoy is live as of right now. So if Convoy's still live when we're done, we could raid Convoy because it's been a while since we've done that. But I think we could raid Emmy unless there's somebody new. See if we can find somebody new. Let's see. Is there anyone new? Oh, this person's reading SCPs. This person's reading SCPs. And it looks like they're a recent streamer. Give them some love. They're reading SCPs, so you know. I think I've read some SCPs on stream. I just enjoy reading Wikipedia too. Alright. Mr. Onslow? The man looked up, mid-50s, salt-and-peppered hair. Who are you? He asked. David Furrow, I said, handed him the papers. Dr. Wells sent me down to help you out on this cruise. How come I never heard of you? He was supposed to call you. Maybe ask Mr. Vidor to contact you? Nobody has said a word about it. You should call Mr. Wells then. Onslow looked at me, looked at the papers again. There's a forged letter from Wells, identifying me as an able-bodied seaman with 3 years' experience. Onslow clearly didn't want to call Wells and risk a tirade. Did he say that what he expected you to do? Help with the meals, mostly. Stow your gear in the cruise compartment aft, he said, then come on back. I found an empty bunk and put my bag with the portable unit in the locker beneath it. There was no lock, but I would have to take the chance. Onslow introduced me to the cook, Milano, who set me to work bringing aboard the produce, poultry, and case of wine the caterer had sent. When I told him that Wells wanted me to serve, he seemed relieved. About mid-afternoon, Charles Gordner, the acting head of production at RKO, arrived with his wife and daughter. They expected to be met by more than just the crew, and Coroner grumbled as he sat at the mahogany table on the afterdeck. Milano gave me a white jacket and sent me up with drinks. The wife was quiet, fanning herself with a palm fan, and the daughter, an ungainly girl of 12 or 13, all elbows and knees, explored the schooner, however you pronounce that. An hour later, a maroon Packard pulled up to the dock, and Wells got out, accompanied by a slender dark woman who I recognized from photos as his assistant, Shifra Haran. Wells bound up onto the deck. Charles, he boomed, and engulfed the uncomfortable coroner in a bear hug. So good to see you. He towered over the studio head. Coroner introduced Wells to his wife, Mary. Wells wore a lightweight suit. His dark hair was long, and he sported a mustache he had grown in Brazil in some misguided attempt at machismo. I'm pretty sure it's machismo. Something like that. Uh, he was over 6 feet tall, soft in the belly, but with little sign of the monstrous obesity that would haunt his future. A huge head, round cheeks, beautifully molded lips, and almond-shaped Mongol eyes. And who's this? Wells asked, turning to the daughter. His attention was like a searchlight, and the girl squirmed in the center of it. Our daughter Barbara. Barbara, Wells said with a grin. Do you always carry your house key on your ear? From the girl's left ear, he plucked a shiny brass key and held it in front of her face. His fingers were extraordinarily long, his hands graceful. The girl smiled slyly. That's not my key, she said. Perhaps it's not a key at all. Wells passed his left hand over his right, and the key became a silver dollar. Would you like this? Yes. He passed his hand over the coin again, and it vanished. Look in your pocket. She shoved her hand in the pocket of her rolled blue jeans and pulled out a dollar. Her eyes flashed with delight. Just remember, Wells said, money isn't everything. And as quickly as he had given the girl his attention, he turned back to Connor. He had the manner of a prince among commoners, dispensing his favors like gold, yet expecting to be deferred to at any and every moment. Haran hovered around him like a hummingbird. She carried a portfolio, ready to hand him whatever he needed: a pencil, a cigar, a match, a cup of tea, a copy of his RKO contract. Herman Mankiewicz said had said about him, quote, there but for the grace of God goes God, close quote. Shifra, he bellowed through, though she was right next to him, get those things out of the car. Haram asked me to help her. I followed her to the pier, and from the trunk took an octagonal octagonal, there we go, multi-reel film canister, and a bulky portable film projector. The label on the canister had the magnificent ampersand scrawled in black grease pencil. Huron watched me warily until I stowed the print projector safely in the salon, then hurried back on deck to look after Wells. I spent some time helping Milano in the galley until Anzo called down to me. It was time to cast off. Anzo started the diesel engine. The blonde kid and another crewmaker cast off the lines, and Anzo backed the Sinara out of the slip. Once the yacht had left the waterway and entered San Pedro Bay, we raised the main fore and staysails. The canvas caught the wind. Anzo turned off the engine, and in the declining sun, we set sail for Catalina. On my way back to the galley, I asked the passengers if I could freshen their drinks. Wells had taken off his jacket and was sprawled in one of the deck chairs, regaling the coroners with stories of Vodun rituals he had witnessed in Brazil. In my interruption, he gave me a black look, but Coroner took the break as an opportunity to ask for another scotch. I asked Barbara if she wanted a lemonade. Wells' hooded eyes flashed his impatience, and I hurried back below deck. It was twilight when I served supper. The western horizon blazed orange and red. The awning above the after-deck table snapped in the breeze. I uncorked several bottles of wine, and I eavesdropped through the avocado salad. The cacao au vin, the strawberry shortcake. The only tough moment came when Onslow stepped out on deck to say good night. I hope your dinner went well. He leaned over and put a hand on Wells' shoulder, nodding toward me. You know, we don't usually take on extra crew at the last minute. Would anyone like brandy? I interjected. Wells, intent on coroner, waved a hand at Onzo. He's done a good job. Very helpful. Onzo retired, and after I brought brandy and glasses on a silver tray, Wells put to coroner the need to complete the It's All True project he had gone to Rio to film. RKO had seen the rushes of hordes of leaping black people at Carnival, gone into shock and abandoned it. 3 segments, Wells said. Oh, I don't know if any of this is bad, so I'm just going to skip it. If you develop the rest of the footage I sent back, I can have it done by Thanksgiving. For a small additional investment, the studio will have something to show for the money they've spent. Nelson Rockefeller will have succeeded in the good neighbor effort, and I can go on and make the kind of movies RKO brought me out here to make. Corner avoided Will's eyes, drawing lines on the white tablecloth with a dessert fork. Orson, with all due respect, I don't think the studio is interested anymore in the kind of movies you were brought out here to make. Kane took a beating, and Ambersons doesn't look like it's going to do any better. Worse, probably. Will's smile was a little too quick. The version of Ambersons that's in the theaters now bears only passing resemblance to what I shot. I've never seen either version, but I saw the report on the preview in Pomona. The audience was bored to tears by your tragedy. People wanted to laugh, they said. The, the comment cards were brutal. I saw the cards, Charles. Half the audience thought it was the best movie they had ever seen. The ones who didn't like it spelled laugh, Laff. Are you going to let the movies you release be determined by people who can't spell laugh? We can't make money on half-full theaters. I went back and forth, clearing the table. As they continued to spar, Huron was busy doing something in the salon. After I helped him clean up, Milano headed for his bunk, and except for the pilot and me, the crew had turned in. I perched on the taffrail in the dark, smoking a 20th century cigarette and eavesdropping. So far, Corner had proved himself to be an amusingly perfect ancestor of the studio executives I was familiar with. The type had not changed in 100 years. Barbara, bored, stretched out on a bench with her head in Mary Corner's lap. Mary stroked Barbara's hair and whispered, "In the morning when we get to Catalina, you can go swimming off the yacht." "Mother," the girl exclaimed, "don't you know these waters are infested with sharks?" Mother and daughter squabbled about whether "infested" was proper language for a well-bred young woman to use. They fell silent without reaching a decision. It was full night now. The moon had risen. Running lights glowed at the top of the masts and the bowsprit and stern. Aside from the snap of the flag above the rush of the sea against the hull, there was only the sound of Will's seductive voice. "Charles, listen. I've got the original cut of the movie with me, the print they sent down to Rio before the preview." "Shifra," he called out, "have you got that projector ready?" Wells finished his brandy. "At least have a look at it. You'll see that it's a work of merit." Barbara perked up. "Please, father, can we see it?" Corner ignored his daughter. "It's not about the merit, Orson. It's about money." "Money? How can you know what's going to make money if you never take a chance?" His voice was getting a little too loud. Corner looked worried. What industry in America doesn't spend money on experiments? Otherwise, the future surprises you and you're out of business. Haran poked her head out of the doorway. "I have the projector set up, Orson." "Orson, I really don't want," Corner said. "Come, Charles, you owe me the favor of at least seeing what I made. I promise you that's all I'll ask." They retired to the salon. I crept up alongside the cabin and peeked in one of the windows. At the end on a teak drop table, Haran had set up the projector, and the other a screen. The film canister lay open on the bench seat, and the first reel was mounted on the projector. "I'm tired," Mary Corner said. "If you'll excuse me, I think I'll turn in." "Mother, I want to see the movie," Barbara said. "I think you should go to bed, Barbara," said Corner. "No, let her see it," Wells said. "It may be a little dark, but there's nothing objectionable." I don't want her to see any dark movies," Corner said. Wells clenched his fists. When he spoke, it was in a lower tone. "Life is dark." "That's just the point, Orson," said Corner, oblivious to the thin ice he was treading. "There's a war on. People don't want to be depressed." As an afterthought, he muttered, "If they ever do." "What'd you say?" Corner, taking a seat, had his back to Wells. He straightened and turned. "What?" Wells stepped past Haran and, with jerky movements, started to remove the reel from the projector. "Forget it," she frowned. "Why waste it on Whoa! Barbara broke the silence. "Oh." There's some not so nice words about a group of people that I'm just going to skip. I've had about it. I've had just about enough, Connor sputtered. You've had enough, Wells bellowed. I am sick to death of you, paltry lot of money-grubbing cheats and liars. When have any of you kept your word to me? When, traitors? He lurched forward and pitched the projector off the table. Corner's wife and daughter flinched as the crash and ducked down to the companionway. Haran, who had clearly seen such displays before, did nothing to restrain her boss. Corner's face was red. That's it, he said. Whatever possessed me to put my family in the way of a madman like you, I'm sure I don't know. If I have anything to say about it, you will never work in Hollywood again. You bastard, you don't need permission to work. Corner poked a finger into Will's heaving chest. You do know what they're saying in every clubroom in the city. They're saying, all's well that ends well. He turned to the cowering secretary. Miss Haran, good night. With that, he followed his wife and daughter to their room. Wells stood motionless. I retreated from the window and went up to the pilot house. What was that about? The man on duty asked. Mr. Wells just hit an iceberg. Don't worry, we're not sinking. Hi, Moonlight. Hey, sweetheart, how you doing? We're just reading the story. These have, worse words in it than the 1969 book. It's weird. Although, I guess maybe it's a period piece. I don't know. I don't know. How you doing, Moonlight? Good to see you. You have the need heals emote. I have the it gave me the where's the unlock stuff? The give heal. They're pretty cute emotes. They're pretty cute. Okay. Moonlight. Hey, very, very good girl. Sorry, voice cracked. Good girl. Good girl, Moonlight. Good girl. Good girl, 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 good girl. Good girl, Moonlight, good girl. You worked very, very hard this week. And I'm very, very proud of you, sweetheart. Sorry, I had to burp. Up in front of you and your TV is on. Your gaming monitor is on too, and it's showing Xbox gaming. I see. Good girl, Moonlight. Good girl. 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 Your puppy sleeping next to you. Aww. That's so cute. High fiver.
Good girl, Moonlight. Good girl. You're such a good girl. Yes, you are. You are such a good girl. Look at you, such a good girl. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good girl. Hi, Coconut Killer. Hi, hi. Good girl, Moonlight. Good girl. You're such a good girl. Yes, you are. Yes, you are such a good girl. Mwah, 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 mwah. Good girl, Moonlight. Good girl. Yes, you are such a good girl. A very, very good girl. Yes, you are. Good girl, 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 good girl. Good girl, Moonlight. Good girl.
All right. Thank you, Moonlight. Hopefully that good girl redeem was okay for you, sweetheart. Thank you for the redeem. Um, we'll read for maybe like 5 more minutes, and then we'll call it a night. I don't know. I'm not feeling either of these stories very much. Um, but maybe this one will get better. We just kind of started this one, so. Rosebud is the same in German as in English. My mother fancied herself an artist. She was involved in Le Saint Vieux, the network of public salons sponsored by Brussels, and so I grew up in a shabby gallery in Schwabing, where she exhibited her tired virtualities. I remember one of them was a sculpture. What? What is going on? I suppose maybe in '69 it was a little frowned upon to mention private parts explicitly, but this one, okay. In the heart of which a holographic projector presented images that switched whenever a new person happened by. One was of a man's mouth, a mustache above his lip, whispering the word rosebud. I could tell that this one was some archival image, and that and the man was speaking was and the man that and that the man speaking wasn't German, but I didn't know who he was. It wasn't until I left Munich for NYU film school that I saw Citizen Kane. I was going to be the artist. I was going to be the artist my mother never was. In no way wedded to old Europe or the god-forsaken 20th century. I was fast and smart and persuasive. I could spin a vision of art and commerce to potential backers until they fainted with the desire to give me money. By the time I was 26, I had made 2 independent films, The Fortress of Solitude and Worlds of Christ in Red. Words even won the Best Original Screenplay award in the 2037 Trieste Film Festival. I was a minor name, but I never made a dime outside of a coterie, coter. I don't couture. I don't know. Nobody ever saw my movies. I told myself it was because the audience were fools, and after all, the world was a mess. Any chance that what chance did art have in a world in flames, and the only people who made money were the ones who purveyed petty distractions? The time travel came. Then time travel came in, or whatever else it helped. It was a disaster for film. Making commercial movies came to be about who could get Elizabeth Taylor or John Wayne to sign up. I got tired of cruising around below the radar. When I was 30, I took a good hard look at the mirror and found a job with Metro as a talent scout. That sounds plausible, doesn't it? But there's another version of my career. Consider this story. I used to be a good tennis player, but my backhand was weak, and no matter how much I worked on it, it never got to be first rate. In a key moment in every match, my opponent would drive the ball to my backhand side, and that damn tape at the top of the net would rise up to snare my return. I could only go so far. I couldn't pull a genius out of thin air, and so the films and discs and the Trieste trophy sat in the back of my closet. I was transferring the contents of that closet into boxes when the call came from DAA. I had a headache, like someone driving spikes into my brain, and Moira, the landlord, hectored me from the doorway. The only personal possessions I had that were worth auctioning online had already been auctioned, and I was 6 months in arrears. My specs on the bedside table started beeping. The signal in the temple was flashing. I thought your service was canceled, Moira said. It is. I fumbled for the specs, sat spraddle-legged on the floor, and slipped them on. My stomach lurched. The wall of my apartment faded into a vision of Gwenda, my PDA. I had Gwenda programmed to look like Louise Brooks. You've got a call from Vanicom Ltd, she said. Rose Thrush Vanis wants to speak with you. I pulled off the specs. Moira, dear, give me 5 minutes on it, would you? She smirked. Whoever she is better owe you money. But she went away. I pawed through the refuse on the bedside table until I found an unused hypo and shot it into my arm. My heart slammed in my chest and my eyes snapped fully open. I put the specs back on. Okay, I said. Gwenda faded and Vanis's beautiful face took her place. Det, are you there? I'm here. How did you get me? I had to pay out your phone bill for you. How about giving me a look at you? The bedroom was testimony to my imminent eviction. I didn't want her to see what I looked like. No, but can do. I'm using specs. How can I help you? I want to throw some work your way. After I had helped Sturgis desert the studio, Venice Venice had told me that I would never work for her again. Her speech might be peppered with lines from Nicholas Ray or Quentin Tarantino, but her movie lust was a simulation over a ruthless commercial mind, and I had cost the company money. For the last 6 months, it looked like I wouldn't work anymore. I am pretty busy, Rose Thrush. Too busy to pay your phone bill? I gave up. I gave up. What do you need? I want you to end this Wells run around, she said. I might be on the outs, but the story of the wild goose chase for Orson Welles was all around town. Four times talent scouts had been sent back to recruit versions of Welles, and 4 times they had failed. No, said Wells at the age of 42, despite being barred from the lot of Universal after Touch of Evil. They tried him in 72, when he was 57, after Pauline Kael trashed his reputation. No, he said. Metro even sent Darla Rashnamurti to seduce him in 1938, when he was the 23-year-old wonderkind. Darla and that version of Wells had a pretty torrid affair, but she came back with nothing more than a sex video that drew a lot of hits on the net and some clippings for her book of memories. I knew all this, and Rose Thrush knew I knew it, and it didn't make a damn bit of difference. I needed the work. Can you send me some e-cash? I said. How much? I considered Moira. How about 10,000 for now? You'll have it. You'll have it in an hour, by which time you'll be in my office, right? I'll be there. A week later, shaved and briefed and buffed to a high luster, I stood in the center of the time travel stage at DAA. I set down the kit bag and held my 1942 clothes in the portable time travel unit, and nodded to Norm Page up in the control booth. Venice stood outside the burnished rail of the stage. No screw-ups this time, right, Det? When have I ever let you down? I could give a list. Good night, Moonlight. Thank you for being here, sweetheart. Thank you. We'll finish this page, and we'll call it a night. 10 seconds, said Norm from the booth. Venice pointed her finger at me like a gun, dropped her thumb as if shooting, and spoke at the corner of her mouth, doing a passable imitation of a man's voice. Rosebud, dead or alive, she said, and the world disappeared. The thing that separates me from the run-of-the-mill scout is I can both plan and improvise. Planning comes first. You must know your mark. You're asking him to abandon his life, and no one is going to do that lightly. You need to approach him at his lowest ebb, but you also want to take him at the time when his talents are undiminished. The situation had fallen together rather nicely. I went down to the after deck and smoked another cigarette. Tobacco, one of the lost luxuries of the 20th century. Through a slight nicotine buzz, I listened to Wells shouting at Huron in the salon, into the into the sounds of demolition that was left of the projector. I heard her tell him to go to hell. The moon was high now, and the surface of the sea was rippled in long, low swells that slapped gently against the hull as we bore south. Behind us, the lights of San Pedro reflected off our subsiding wake. A few minutes later, Wells came up onto the deck, looking the film canister, which he hefted onto the table. He sat down and stared at it. He picked up the brandy bottle and poured a glass, gulped it down, and then poured himself another. If he was aware of my presence, he gave no sign. After a while, I guess we'll finish this page too. It's not very long. After a while, I said quietly, "That might have gone better." Wells lifted his big head. His face was shadowed. For a moment, he looked like Harry Lime in The Third Man. "I have nothing to say to you." "But I have something to say to you, Orson." I moved to the table. "Go away. I'm not about to be lectured by one of Vider's lackeys. I don't work for Mr. Vider. I don't work for anyone you know. I'm here to talk to you." He put down his glass. "Do I know you?" "My name is Detlev Gruber." He snorted. "If I were you, I'd change my name." "I do. Frequently." For the first time since he'd come aboard the yacht, he really looked at me. "So speak your piece and leave me alone." "First, let me show you something." I took my bandana from my pocket and spread it flat on the table between us. I tugged the corners that turned it rigid, then thumbed the controls to switch it on. The blue and white pattern of the fabric disappeared and the screen lit. Wells was watching now. "What is this?" "A demonstration." I hit play. The screen went black and words appeared. A Mercury production by Orson Welles. And the title, Citizen Kane. Ominous music rose. Fade in. Night. On a chain link fence with a metal sign that reads "No trespassing." "What the hell?" Wells said. I paused the image. Wells picked up the flat screen. He shook it, rigid as a piece of pasteboard, turned it over and examined its back. "This is amazing. Where did you get it?" "It's a common artifact in the year 2048. Wells laid the screen down, with the light of "No trespassing" shining up into his face. He looked like no more than a boy. He was 27 years old. "Go on," he said. "I like a tall tale." "I got it because I come from the future. I've come here just to see you, because I want you to come back with me." Wells looked at me, then he laughed his deep, booming laugh. He pulled a cigar out from his jacket pocket and lit it. "What does the future want with me?" he said between puffs. "I represent an entertainment company. We want you to do one thing. Make movies. We have technology that you don't even have resources you can't. We have technology that you don't have and resources you can't imagine. This screen is only the most trivial example. You think that optical printing is a neat trick? We can create whole landscapes out of nothing. Turn 3 extras into an army. Do it for a fraction of the cost that takes millions to do here, and do it better. The movie technology of the future is the best toy train set a boy ever had. More to the point, Orson, is this. You can fool these people around you, but you can't fool me. I know every mistake you've made since you came to Hollywood. I know every person you've alienated. Corner's hostility is only the tip of the iceberg." All right, we'll call it there. I'll leave the bookmark in, and then maybe we'll read some more later. It got a little more interesting when we found out it's from the future and they want these Wells to make a movie. I guess. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Give me a moment to stop my headphones and we'll get ready to go in here. I will be right back. Okay. Let's go say hi to this person. They're reading SCP articles. The name is Halcyon June. That's a good one. Let me just make sure I'm spelling this right. I did. Okay. Thank you for the raid and the follow Grimoire Index. Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate it a lot. I will see you guys tomorrow for some Power Wash Sim. We're going to finish cleaning the subway. I hope you guys had a good evening. I hope this was interesting. I don't know. I don't know. These stories were definitely easier to read than the man speaketh or a man speaketh. But I don't know if I enjoyed it as much. It's the way that A Man Speaketh was written was interesting, where it was a paragraph of Ed's dialogue, and then Marty breaking it down and talking to you, the reader, and then Ed, and then Marty, and then Ed, then Marty. It was interesting. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's certainly easier to read, though. Anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Please give Halcyon June a follow. Please give them some love. They're super close to 150. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye. Good night. Bye bye. Good night, Fiver. Good night, Moonlight. Good night, Coconut Killer. Good night, everybody.